Good morning. How many of you have spent countless hours on end preparing for that big exam only to realize that you just barely squeaked by? College students today are busier than ever, which is why it is so important to understand your learning style so that you can become more efficient with your time and more proficient with the material. For the last 10 years, I've tutored math to middle school, high school, and college level students. I have seen firsthand that when students understand their learning style, they actually have a much greater connection to the material. Today, you will learn how to become more efficient when studying by utilizing specific strategies geared just towards you. First, we'll talk about the visual learning style, followed by the auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic learning styles. Finally, we'll talk about all of the benefits that will be just not for today, but for the future. In August 2020, Western Governors University published an article titled Visual Learning Style and Strategies for Teachers. They explained that visual learners need to see the information and then visualize it for future recall. Visual learners are very good at making diagrams, making charts, drawing pictures. Using concept maps are very useful tool for visual learners because that's how they go back and remember that information come test time. Visual learners will often have a notebook that literally looks like a highlight color explosion. That is, once again, how they go back and recall information. They visualize all of those different colors and whether it was facts or main ideas or definitions, whatnot. That's how they'll recall that information at a later time. Grace Fleming is a senior academic advisor at Georgia Southern University. In January 2020, she published an article written entitled Understanding the Auditory Learning Style. She explained that auditory learners need to hear the information, and then once they hear it, they store it in their brains according to the way that it actually sounds. Auditory learners find it very useful to record lectures. They will go home and replay that recorded lecture over and over, and they like listening to podcasts. They are very good when they are learning material to actually teach it to others by talking out loud, speaking out loud. According to the Academic Center for Excellence at Florida State University, there's a title on their website that is titled Learning Styles. And it talks about how reading, writing learners need that written, concrete information. Reading, writing learners are not going to be big fans of downloading textbooks or books or anything and reading them off of their computer or iPad. They want that textbook in hand. They want to download their notes and handouts and print out a hard copy to actually have them. They are very detailed oriented. They are very good with their note taking, and they are oftentimes going to have very detailed lists and outlines. Kinesthetic learners are more than just hands-on learners. They need that physical touch and they need to incorporate some type of movement into their study habits. Kinesthetic learners obviously are going to benefit from simulations, hands-on practicing, making models, and things like that. The act of making flashcards is simply the act of doing, the act of movement is really beneficial to kinesthetic learners. Interestingly enough, kinesthetic learners need to incorporate movement when they are studying. So instead of sitting quietly in a chair, they need to either chew gum, they need to maybe listen to a recorded lecture while they take their dog for a walk around the block, maybe sit in a rocking chair, tap their foot. This is going to help them store the information and then turn around and recall it and use that recall for future at a future test time. Now that we've talked about the 4 different learning styles, let's take a look at the benefits that you can have from knowing your learning style. Academically, you are going to maximize your learning potential by becoming much more efficient with your time. You're going to be less stressed and you're going to be less frustrated in the classroom. In turn, personally, you're going to increase your self confidence. You're going to become much more self aware about your strengths and weaknesses. That in turn affects you professionally. You're going to be a much greater coworker and a great leader when you are self aware because you understand that everyone brings something different to the table. You understand that diversity train of thought, and you understand that everyone has different strengths and weaknesses, and you appreciate those strengths to bring into one. Understanding your learning style and using those strategies will benefit you not just for today, but in the future. Today, we have talked about the visual learning style, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. Also, we've talked about the benefits that you can use not for just today, but in the future. Thank you for listening.